Assalamu alaikum. So yesterday was quite a heavy day, I felt. We discussed some very abstract concepts. We introduced the concept of the soul, the nafs, and its journey. So far, yesterday, we spoke about the three worlds that the soul has journeyed through. We spoke about the world before our conception, and that world is called the world of souls. Ahlum al-Arwah. We then spoke about the world of the womb, inside our mothers. And then we spoke about the third world, which is this current world, the here, for now, this very moment. The world here on earth. And so we learned a few number of lessons, I think, between us. I learned a few lessons from this research. That all souls of mankind were created by Allah at the creation of Adam alayhi salam. And at this time, every single soul of man, irrespective of whether they were to become Hindu, Christian, Jew, Sikh, took a covenant with Allah Ta'ala, a misak. And every single human soul had testified that Allah was his Lord. In the creation of our soul, our ruh, Allah had breathed some of his metaphorical spirit into us. And because of this metaphorical spirit, we discussed that our human being's inner disposition, also known as a fitra, or the disposition, or the constitution, or our moral compass, our conscience, was always inclined towards good first. And we spoke about how we translate that into this world. And we spoke about how good is good, and it doesn't need to be defined as to whether it's from a Muslim, or a Hindu, or a Sikh, or a Christian, or an atheist, or an agnostic. And we spoke about, as Muslims, defending ourselves from self-righteousness and acknowledging the good that comes from anyone of any background. We then moved from the soul, the world of souls, to the world of the womb. We said that around the 120th day, around 4 months after conception, Allah orders an angel to breathe the soul into the human bodily form. We are then born into the world of this earth. In the world of this earth, we engage in a physical reality, but we should try to nurture our spiritual reality. And Allah has given us a prescription, if you like, to help nurture, evolve, grow our spiritual reality. We spoke about how these perceived dictatorial list of things, of do's and don'ts, rituals such as prayer, fasting, charity, cleanliness, love, allow us to reach a higher spiritual state, which nurtures a spiritual reality within us, the soul. Today I wish to continue this journey. So, we've passed through the world of the souls into the worlds of the womb. We've passed from the world of the womb into the world of the earth. And the first recitation that we hear in this world is the adhan. And already our soul, our ruh within us resonates with the spiritual truth which we left in the world of souls. In this adhan we hear our call to prayer for our own janazah namaz. So at birth we hear the adhan, but the adhan is almost like a call to prayer for your own janazah. And in the adhan we simply testify to the truth yet again, that there is no God except Allah. Now, the Quran asks us to contemplate and ponder life around us, to come to our own conclusions about the life of this world. And Allah continuously asks us to reflect, contemplate and observe, because there are lessons and signs everywhere. So this is a very scientific prescription by Allah to observe, because science is observation. And in Surah Al-Rum, Surah number 8, verse 30, Allah asks us, will you not then contemplate? So let's talk about the physical journey of the man on this earth. The Quran encapsulates this beautifully and succinctly. Allah tells us in Surah Al-Rum, Surah number 54, verse 30, that it is Allah who created you in a state of weakness, and then gave you strength, and then gave you weakness. He creates as He wills, and it is He who has all knowledge and power. So what does that mean? So when we're created as babies, we literally know nothing. We can't feed ourselves, we can't clean ourselves, we can't move, and we're completely dependent upon our parents for every part of our care. We're born in a state of absolute weakness, but little by little, as we become mentally and physically stronger, we reach the height of our mental and physical prowess. But as soon as we reach that height, we start to weaken once again. And we become slowly but surely weaker, physically and mentally. There's quite a bit to learn from this, because we learn that the power was never ours to begin with. It was given to us by Allah as per His biological plan to create us in this disposition. But yet, as we grow into the mental and physical peaks of our lives, we become arrogant and think everything we have is from our own selves. So whilst our physical body has a set pattern laid by Allah, our spiritual soul has no obvious set pattern. It's our free will which determines the journey our soul will take. Whether we take it to spiritual heights or spiritual lows is dependent completely upon us. So the more good we do in this world, and the more we use the tools set out by Allah, the easier it would be to attain those spiritual peaks. It could be then that our spiritual self can grow and grow and grow, just like a flower blooming from the soil. It can reach no heights that any other creation of Allah can ascend to, including that of the angels. We can use this free will, this aql, and this intellect to reason the existence of our spiritual reality and willfully climb to spiritual peaks. As our spiritual heart grows, the curtains between the true reality of this life and the spiritual reality of life begin to lift, and they become one. So I once heard a story about Maulana Ali alayhi salam, and when he used to be in a state of sujood, his feet used to tremble. Perhaps this was because his heart had grown to such a spiritual peak. To him, the spiritual and physical realities were one. So, going back to this world on earth, what are we continuously reminded of? I think we're reminded of the worlds to come all the time. Our actions in prayer and in life remind us of the worlds to come. So, when you plan to pray, you go to wudu, we clean ourselves. And when we wipe our feet, for example, we say, "Oh Allah, keep my feet steady on the right path." And then we come to the Masala, and you recite the first surah, Surah Al-Fatiha. and we recite Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. Oh Allah, keep us on the straight path. And then we eventually sit down and we recite the Muti Tashawud, and in that we say was-sirata haqqun. And then if we've ever had the privilege of giving somebody ghusl, then in this we wash the feet and say, oh Allah, keep my feet steady on the right path. So this is just one example of the spiritual congruity which is in our religion. And it's there to correlate this world and the next, and it reminds us of the world that's to come. Now, as we lead our lives in this earth, we come towards one certainty. And a certainty that everybody here will go through. The only certainty that we know, away from one that has already happened. So the only certainty that's already happened is birth. The only certainty to come is that of death. There are reminders of this everywhere. And there is an old fable, whether or not it is true I do not know, but there are still lessons we can learn from this. So, a man made an unusual agreement with Malakul Maut. I don't know how they met, but they made an unusual agreement. The name of Malakul Maut is Israel. The man told Israel, Malakul Maut, that he would be willing to accompany him as if he had a choice, only if Israel would send him a notice that his death was coming. So it's like giving him an advance notice that, you know, you're going to die on this day, so just be prepared. So the agreement was made. And so after they met, weeks became months and months became years. One bitterly cold night in December, as the man sat alone thinking about his successes in life, Israel tapped him on his shoulder. The man cried out, "You're here too soon. You sent no messenger. You didn't give me any notice. I thought we had an agreement." Malik al-Maut whispered, and he said, "We did have an agreement. I have kept my agreement. Notice that your hair, which was once full and black, now has streaks of silver in it. Observe your face in the mirror and see the wrinkles. Yeah, I've sent many messages through the years. I've kept my part. I'm sorry you are not ready for me, but the order of Almighty Allah cannot be averted." And so he died. So, maut, death. A certainty no man, irrespective of their creed, can dispute. A physical reality which we are all in agreement with. As Muslims, we utter it back to the Muti Tashawud. When we sit, we'll say, "Wal mawta haqqun," and we utter it every time we pray namaz. Allah then tells us in multiple verses of the Quran. So, for example, in Surah Al-Imran, in verse 185, every soul shall taste death. Death can come to us at every moment, any moment. Doesn't matter who's gone through the earth, king, queen, CEO, chief exec, banker, doesn't matter how many degrees you have, everyone's going to taste death. The believing person, when he's about to depart this world, and when he's about to go into the hereafter, it is said that two beautiful angels come down from the sky. They've got these beautiful faces full of radiant light, with perfume from paradise, and a shroud from paradise also. The angel of death is there, and he says to the soul of the believer, come out to the pleasure of your Lord, to a luxury you're going to receive from your Lord, O beautiful, pure soul." Just like water spilling from a jug, the soul releases from the body. And so, if you remember, we've discussed about the world of the souls and the world of the earth. And at death we are transitioning into a completely different world and back to Allah's world. And when we hear of somebody's death, we recite Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. It is from Allah that we come from, and to Him we do indeed return. Our soul then comes out of body and enters into a completely different world. So this is the fourth world our soul enters into. And that is the world of the barzakh. So far we come across the world of souls, the world of the womb, and the world of the earth. We now enter into the world of the barzakh. The world which is not quite the hereafter, nor it is the earth. A life of a certain type with its own reality, which is nothing like this world. It is not the hereafter of the Day of Judgment, nor is it this world. It is a barrier between this life and the next. As soon as you die, the soul experiences this world. When it is time for us to leave this world and wake up to the certainty of our spiritual reality, we are told that it is then that our true spiritual reality strikes us. We are told it is only after death does reality truly strike us. It will strike us so suddenly that we're not in our body any longer, but that we are in our soul. The idea that we have now of our physical and spiritual realities being separate won't exist then. There will just be one spiritual reality, the absolute reality. Like the child who leaves the mother's womb, who does not return back to it, nobody who passes death will return back to the world. There are comforts in this, and if you remember, we started this discussion series when talking about patience. And I suppose one of the reasons we are discussing this is that if we understand our own internal spiritual journey, we can then be patient in the hardships that we experience in this world. And one of the greatest comforts that you have is when you are leaving this world, you are joined by other believing souls. So whilst in this world we depart and we leave our grieving families, any good soul is welcomed by the family of the hereafter. So I remember around a week before my own Nana died, he spoke about his dad, his mum. He spoke about with them in a manner that I've never actually seen. He spoke about them in a depth and emotion I've never seen. And I've heard this before. When people are approaching the end, they think of people that have left them, that have died. And this is consistent with Islamic belief, which tells us that in the barzakh, it is our family which pulls across to us and takes us through this bridge. So one of the last ayahs to be revealed was Surah Nisa verse 69, and Muhammad Rasulullah, as he was on his deathbed, said to Allah, "Join me with those who have earned your favour, with the prophets, with the martyrs, with those who are truthful." And the Prophet ﷺ, when he's leaving this world, wants to be with those he loved again. And think about our people who have passed in this very hall. Think about your own relatives and your loved ones who have passed. When you die, you'll be greeted by them. They're going to be waiting for you. When the believer passes away, the believing souls receive them. It's said that when we see somebody in that realm, that the love and excitement and the joy is something which we can never experience in this physical reality. And that is a great comfort. And through this, Allah allows us to overcome our grief with patience. So let's just recap then. The soul has encountered the world of souls, the world of the womb, the world of the earth, and now is in the world of the barzakh. Every man who has ever died from the first man are all in a state of barzakh right now, So every creation of Allah, in terms of man, and who have died, are all in a state of barzakh at this moment in time. And every human being who will continue to die will experience a state. So barzakh is actually a holding place until our souls experience the next world after it. And so that's why if you read the du'as as you go into the qabristan, the dua you recite is, I don't have it with me, but you actually speak to the souls who are present there. And it becomes very apparent. So the man is in a state of barzakh from the time of death to the blowing of a particular horn, which brings forth the day of rising, the day of resurrection. And that is a world of the hereafter. Tomorrow, I wish to continue the journey of the soul into this last world and its continuum with our eternal abode. It is in this last world we live eternally. And I wish to leave you with this reflection. If you remember yesterday's reflection about the heart surgeon operating on physical hearts on two ends of the day and operating on a spiritual heart in the middle of the day, today I reflected upon the sun and the leaves, because it almost felt like the first day of autumn today because I saw some leaves fall into the ground. The world around us gives us signs of this reality of life after death. Like the sun which disappears into the night, it shines again at dawn. Like the flowers and leaves which wither away, they grow again during the spring. So we die, and we are raised up again. And there are a group of people in this world who will say, who is going to raise you up again? The Quran has an emphatic answer for anybody who denies the resurrection will occur. In Surah Yasin, chapter 36, verse 78, Allah tells people on this earth, or rather Allah tells us people on this earth will often ask, who can give life to dry bones and decompose ones at that? Allah answers, He will give life who created them in the first instance. So on that note, I conclude the discussion for today, and hopefully we'll discuss the day of rising tomorrow. I had intended to speak about it today, but I think in the interest of time we'll leave it till tomorrow. And then we can also have a bit of a discussion, perhaps before we start this talk tomorrow, because everybody here has the ability to reason, the ability to use their intellect and ask questions. And the fact that you're able to ask questions means that you're observing the gift that Allah had given us, that of intellect. So inshallah we'll continue tomorrow. Thank you.